Good evening, everyone. It is April 25th, 2023, and the time is 6:05 p.m. I now call this meeting of the Urban Design Commission to order. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Urban Design Commission is conducted via remote participation. We will make recordings available on request as soon as possible after the meeting. My name is Sarah Lewis. I am the co-chair of the Urban Design Commission, and we will start with a roll call vote of the members present. Frank Valdez.
Present.
Tim Talon.
Present.
And Sherry Ruane.
Present.
All right, thank you. So 3, we have a quorum. So our first order of business is the approval of the January 24th, 2023 minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes? All right, seeing nods and hearing no comments, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Sherry, seconded by
Second.
Tim. Thank you. Roll call vote. Frank.
Yes.
Sherry. I see a hand
Yes.
raised.
Sorry.
Yes.
I lost my mute button. Yes.
And Tim.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So the meetings of January 24th are approved. So our regular business for this evening is design review for 142 Cross Street, which is an MR3 apartment building. Andrew, while you reach out to the applicant, we are going to, I will remind the committee that we will need a vote on the facade, whether the design guidelines have been met, and if we're going to provide any additional guidance this evening.
Can the applicants please use the raise hand feature if they will be presenting? I see Evan Selman. Welcome, Evan.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Evan.
Can everybody see my screen? Let me just get this out of the way. Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, so I also have the attorney, Christopher Alberto. I believe he's on the line. But I'll just get started with the presentation. So tonight we're looking at 142 Cross Street. It's an existing single-story takeout restaurant on the corner of Cross Street and Alston Street, and it's directly opposite of Chester Avenue, where the Somerville Community Path comes up. And it's situated between McGrath Highway here and the rail right-of-way. This is just an alternate view where the single-story structure. Surrounding us, you can see down Alston Street, we have a mix of 2.5 and 3-story residential buildings. As we move opposite of the rail right-of-way, we get into some larger scale structures, some 4-story, bigger massing structures. Opposite of our site, we have a 4-story structure, and then across McGrath Highway, we start to get into some more dense structures with the 4-story structure over here. And then this is just an alternate aerial view showing those more dense developments opposite of our development. This is the existing structure from Cross Street and Alston Street. So the facade that I'm highlighting here on the left is our primary facade, and then the tiny facade on Alston Street would be our secondary facade. And this is just a view of our primary facade from Chester Avenue, where the community path comes up from the rail right-of-way. And then this is just a similar view showing the primary facade. And then this shows the smaller Alston Street facade that we're going to be highlighting. So it is an MR3 zone. We are within a quarter mile of a transit walk shed, and this is not on a pedestrian street. This is our proposed site plan. I'll zoom in there a little bit and unhighlight it. There we go. So the blue lines here show the proposed 12-foot curb setback. We're proposing a structure that comes up to that curb setback. We have a 10-foot setback on the right side from Alston Street, adjacent to an NR zone. And then we have 2 parking spaces at grade, and the structure cantilevers over to the MBTA rail right-of-way on the 2nd and 3rd floors. It is our intention to comply with all of the relevant zoning parameters for the MR3 zone. This is our first facade design scheme. The upper image here is the primary facade on Cross Street, and then the bottom image is the Alston Street facade, which is really just from here to the right. So with this scheme, we kind of took some cues from the structure across the street. We broke up the massing both vertically and horizontally. It's kind of like a Tetris with a building. We're proposing 3 primary materials here. You can see cementitious cladding with reglets on the upper left, and that would wrap the corner on the right side on all 3 stories across to Alston Street. Cedar siding in the middle here, and then a metal standing seam siding at the top floor and on the bottom left. And then all of that is over a capstone water table. Facade scheme 2, we have the cementitious cladding along the 3 stories that wrap around to Alston Street, and then they cap the building around the perimeter, and then they come down at the primary entrance. And then that's accented by an alternate color cementitious siding. And then our final scheme, we highlighted the primary entrance with cedar cladding that goes all the way up and connects to the penthouse. On either side of that, we have cementitious panelings with reglets. And then as we wrap the corner to Alston Street, we have some cementitious cladding and then an alternate color where the windows are. And these are just some 3D views showing all 3 facades, all 3 schemes, I mean. This is our first option. Going on to our second option. And then that is our third and final option. I do have floor plans. I'm not sure if you want me to walk through them or not. If not, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, can you just take us through the plans?
Yeah, sure. So the right plan here is the ground floor. We have the at-surface parking to the left. The primary entrance is the common entry for all 3 units, and from there you go upstairs to units 2 and 3 or into unit 1. Unit 1 has a kitchen and a study on the ground floor, and also a rear no-step entry and space for a future wheelchair lift. Downstairs for unit 1, we have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and some storage area. Going up the stairs, we wind up right here, and that's the entry to unit 2, which is a 2-bedroom plus study unit. And then they have a balcony that overlooks the NR lot to the right on Alston Street. And then we can come up to unit 3, which is also a 2-bedroom plus study, 2.5 bathroom unit. And they also have access to a head house. I'm sorry, I don't have that plan. A head house with a roof deck. And those are the floor plans.
Can you talk about the space between the building and the adjacent property? What's happening there?
Yeah, I'll go to the site plan. Or I'll go to this floor plan. So all the way at the rightmost property line, there's a sloped walkway that goes up to the door for unit 1. There's a flat outdoor amenity space, and then there's an areaway for the bedrooms at the basement level.
So is that area way open? Is there a rail around it? Is it leading over it?
I'm sorry?
Is there a guardrail around the area way or is it open?
Yeah, there
Grading
will
over
be
top
a
of that?
guardrail around the areaway.
Can you point, Evan, can you point to where the lobby entrance, how many units are in total?
So there's 3 units total. The primary entrance would be off of Cross Street right here.
So 3 units in total, main entrance right there. And there's no need to have any type of ADA accessibility into the building at this, from the entrance?
So unit 1 is designed as an adaptable unit. They would have a no-step entrance up this sloped walkway and into here.
So they would come in through the back.
Yes.
And how is, can you tell us about just trash and servicing of the building?
Yeah, so there's a pretty expansive cantilever over the driveway. And there's space here for trash cans for the units adjacent to that one long-term bike space.
And how do you access that?
It's through the opening on Cross Street here.
Through the garage.
Well, it's not a fully enclosed garage. It just has a
It's just
that's
open. It's open.
yeah, it's open.
And what is the green box in the site?
That's the it would be a outdoor amenity space for unit 1.
What is it gonna be? It's
It's
private, I understand that,
yeah.
but what material is it gonna be?
Most likely pervious pavers.
So there's no vegetation on the site whatsoever.
We would have to use rooftop gardens to meet the green score.
Do you have a plan for that?
At this point, we don't have a landscape architect on board yet, but we can produce one.
But shouldn't that have been part of the package for us to review though?
I-
Frank,
Sarah,
this is
Sarah.
Andrew G.
Yeah, Andrew.
Can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. So Emily Hutchings is the case planner for this project. And I believe this was just a miscommunication. She informed me that the application for the UDC submission was complete and was ready to proceed. So this was probably just an error on staff's end. But what we probably can do is you guys can just request a continuance so the applicant can work on that plan, and then we can continue it to another meeting and discuss it then. But I would say that we probably should be able to continue to discuss the rest of the application.
Sure.
And Sarah,
Yeah.
feel free to also provide information.
Evan, can you show us the elevations again? Let's go through like the set of elevations that you have. Are you only showing one side of the elevations from Cross Street? Do you have the elevations from all of the other sides and all the other approaches? I mean, it is a predominant corner building.
Yeah, we're just showing the facade on Cross Street at the top, and then the small facade on Alston Street. It's just it's 2 windows wide. But
And
this
does the elevation on the bottom seem to be that it's, I mean, is it correct, or does it seem like it's slightly obtuse or angled
well, it's
and
just
not really showing the true elevation?
it's just showing this wall, and then the angled part is the Cross Street. So it's just this wall right here. So it's correct. We're really just looking at the 2 window wide is technically the Alston Street
So we
elevation.
don't get to see the. I would say that there's a lot of information missing for me to be able to make a judgment call on this. There's 2 sets of elevations that I would love to see as to how those elevations look like. And I think that to this extent, these 2 elevations are really just not providing enough information from a material development. The cementitious panel and the metal panel seems to be like almost like the same. The idea of blue windows is just like really like overpowering. So from my perspective, Evan, I would say that there's a lot of pieces that I would like to review in more detail to give you a little bit more input on the development and on the choice of things. I think that it's an interesting approach, but I think that Sherry said it would be nice to see what the roof plan is for the green score. I would like to see the other elevations missing. And, the idea of like showing some of those components are missing. I think that there's a lot of stuff that is just not there for me to make a full judgment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Given the
How many-
fact that we
instead-
do have to talk about the facade options, and since this team is probably going to be coming back, is there a preferred facade direction or some guidance that we can provide at this point?
I mean, I think I would like to say to Evan that in order for you to get the really right commentary from us, I think that to develop a more detailed and enriched, not just like swapping colors, but the idea of like a really more enriched facade treatment or massing that shows something better that we can really look at and say yes. I mean, to me, they're all the same, and you're just changing colors. So it's not really, I would say that I need to see a little bit more development. I think it's a little premature for this to be in front of us.
Okay.
How many units are on each floor? Is it 2 on the upper story?
It's 1 unit per floor.
It's 3 in total, Tim.
Yep.
3.
3 total units. Yeah, for me, when I look at all of them, I agree with Frank, your comments so far. One thing in particular I'd add to that is I think it's really important for us to understand how this building meets the ground, how its materiality meets the ground. So I think, this is something I've asked, a couple times. But I think understanding that at a large scale, even if you could show us a representative detail of that would go, from another project would go a long way towards helping us understand that. But it feels to me, looking at the scale of this building, it's a small building. It's a really small building. And it's basically the scale of a triple decker. And so to then take it up and introduce 3-4 different materials and kind of break up a single unit into pieces, I wonder whether there's, a way to simplify this. And I think option 3 probably gets the closest towards simplifying it, but it kind of makes it a little more coherent. If this was a larger scale, if this was a building with a 130-foot long facade, it would make sense to think about breaking it up and introducing, well, maybe not this one, but yeah, I kind of wish there was kind of a stronger and more cohesive single idea for the building.
And Evan, I mean, I think Tim makes really interesting points. The one thing that I would advise you to consider, just because I've encountered so many of these conditions a lot, and you probably have as well, you're treating all of the floors the same way, but the apartment on the first floor is you have to keep in mind that it's a very interesting thing to have an apartment on the ground floor with the same treatment as apartments on the second and third floor. People are very different, and it's like very exposed, right? And either people are going to be closing that, people are not going to rent it, people are not going to buy it. I think you should think a little bit more about that ground floor and how it really presents itself at ground level. I mean, think of yourself living in there and having people walking on the sidewalk, like 5 feet from your window. You know, I would think that a little articulation on the window placement and some of that creative component as to how would they feel, and maybe it opens up bigger in the back, and it's, you know, I don't know, you know, you use your creativity, but I think that identifying the ground floor as a key element that is there. I mean, from my perspective, those things never end up getting rented because nobody wants to live there because they're so exposed, and it's just a bad situation. So think about that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation. You know, perhaps instead of looking at a vertical division between pieces, you're differentiating the ground floor and designing the windows in a way that, you know, provides for the ability to get natural light and the visual connection out, but for privacy as well. You know, maybe you're opening up more on that ground floor unit to the space in between the buildings.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think Frank mentioned the other elevations. I think the elevation facing Community Path Bridge to the north will be important to see. It's going to be pretty visible.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's helpful, Evan. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of discussion, gave you more direction.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So at this point, since we're not going to vote tonight, can I get a motion to continue this project to the next meeting?
I motion to continue this project.
Well, then I'll second. Right.
Seconded by Sherry. All right, roll call vote. Tim?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And Frank?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Evan and team. And we will see you at the next meeting, which is currently scheduled for Andrew G. Should be 2
Sorry
weeks
about that.
from now.
Yes, so the
What
next meeting will be
Yeah.
May 9th.
What's that
And
date?
staff will work with Evan to make sure that they have everything.
Yes.
Terrific.
What's the
Okay.
date?
May 9th.
May.
All right. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At that note, team, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by,
I'll second, although Tim has not had the pleasure of seconding anything this meeting.
all right, then we'll give Tim the second. How
Yeah,
about
give it
that?
to Tim. I nominate Tim to second the closing of the meeting.
Awesome.
So he's upper left on my screen. I'll let him vote first. Tim?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
And Frank?
Yes.
Thank you all. Let the record show that the meeting is adjourned at 6:30 p.m. and we will see you all again on May 9th.
Ciao.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.